right, good morning and welcome to Market Opening on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV. It's just after 9 and we're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. Let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space this morning. Asian markets climb to record highs. Japan's Nikkei rallies after a pro-stimulus lawmaker is elected the new prime minister. Gold crosses the $3,900 per ounce level for the first time ever. Shutdown of the US government doesn't bother investors much, with US futures up again. It promises to be an action-packed week with a humongous 33,000 crore rupees being raised via IPOs. The 15,000 crore plus Tata Capital public issue opens today, with the LG Electronics issue opening tomorrow. Canara Robeco AMC to also hit the street. IPO details to be announced this afternoon. Survey claims benefits of GST rate cuts are still not reaching the consumer. Only 1 in 10 consumers surveyed confirm receiving full benefit in packaged foods and medicines, while 20% receive partial benefits. The survey says retailers are reluctant to sell at lower prices without manufacturers making up for their losses. Civil aviation regulator says it's maintaining a rigorous oversight on air ticket prices during the festive season. DGCA gets the airlines to add around 1,750 flights to meet the surge in festival demand over the next few weeks. The 14th round of India-European Union Free Trade Agreement talks in Brussels from today. Efforts to resolve deadlock on auto tariffs. EU also seeking access into Indian agri-markets, including wines. India wants concessions in labour-intensive sectors and EU's strict carbon tax laws. All right, let's take a look at the overnight setup. A quick look at Wall Street and Asia this morning. As we mentioned, really not too much impact of the government shutdown on Wall Street overnight. And Asia this morning also looking good, especially on account of the elections in Japan. They're going to get their first female prime minister, pro-stimulus government coming in. And we are seeing a nice move up on the Nikkei this morning. So I'm going to jump straight to Asian markets from here to give you a sense of what's happening there. 4% up on the Nikkei and looking really good as well in the morning. All right, in fact, we saw that move come in right after the election results, while markets remain closed today in Asia. Let's welcome in our guest this morning, Shailendra Bhatnagar, Chief Analyst and Editor Markets, as well as Avinash Gorachakkar, who's joining us this morning as well, an expert on the markets. Gentlemen, apart from what's been happening overnight on the global indices, gold, silver, platinum, copper, look at the precious metals. Gold has surged to 3,950 an ounce. Silver is shining bright at $48. Platinum also trading strong, record highs across. What's going on here, Shail?
Very good morning to you, Abha, and to all our viewers. The risk on trade as far as precious metals is concerned is getting better and better. There is a talk of silver crossing $50 an ounce, and of course the price of $4,000 per ounce for gold is also being talked about. Very simply, fresh rate cuts coming in from Western central banks, and of course this geopolitical issue is creating some sort of uncertainty in the market, and therefore the love for gold and silver continues unabated. But for Indian markets, 2 days of gains, which is Friday and Thursday, about 400 points added on the Nifty. I am looking for a positive opening as far as markets are concerned. 25,000 is a resistance for the Nifty. Metals, banks, oil and gas, and of course some parts of Nifty are likely to do well in the market today, Abha.
All right, we've got lots to track today as well. And, we've got, of course, a good pickup in some of the markets in Asia. There's the Nikkei for you. So we've got, China, Korea, of course, shut, but Nikkei up nice 4.5% this morning on the back of those election results. Avinash, good morning. We're tracking, of course, global markets and the uptick there. We're tracking metals and new record highs across, even crypto, Bitcoin. We're seeing action on that front as well. So clearly momentum seems to be picking up as we're counting down to Diwali.
Yeah, good morning, Ava. I think on the metal side, with the weak US dollar, I think metal stocks have gone up, and I think this trend will continue. I think one of the notable stocks which I think investors should look at is Hindustan Zinc. With gold and silver prices moving up, Hindustan Zinc is one of the largest producer of zinc. The third or the fourth largest global player. And I think every increase in the silver price is going to add to the profitability of the company. So I think even at these levels, somebody wants to take a positional call purely based on quarter two numbers and the kind of outlook the company will share going forward. It looks that silver is also going to touch new highs. So to that extent, I think Hindustan Zinc could be a good positional bet in the medium term.
All right, keep an eye on Hindustan Zinc as we head into trade today. And let's take a look at the index as well. We're just set for looks like a moderate uptick, just about flat in the pre-open right now. But, we have started to see that little bit of a pickup after we saw about 8-9 days of range-bound, slight bit of profit booking, and then we saw 2 days of gain. So let's see how we shape up in today's trade. A whole host of counters in the news as well. Marico is seeing a consolidated revenue growth touching the 30s and year-on-year numbers coming in there, expecting modest operating profit growth, but tells you, of course, of the underlying volume growth in that particular segment as well. We've got Kotak Bank with a Q2 update as well. Business growth there seems to be ahead of expectation. CASA growth is continuing to improve on that front as well. It's improved to 11.2%. So that's looking good. HDFC Bank gross advances as of end of September are up 9.9%. So a couple of these banking names out with updates, and we'll also talk about Shobha. Great story there. Total sales area that's in the real estate space up 50% and sales value up 61%. And the first half sales value up 30%, close to 4,000 crores there. So lots of newsmakers in the markets today. I'm going to continue to run through this just until we hit the opening bell, and then we'll get some perspective from our experts as well on some of these names. Kalyan Jewelers, they've seen consolidated revenue growth at approximately 30% year on year. India Ops revenue growth of approximately 31% year on year as well. So looking good across in terms of some of these quarterly updates coming in. FSN e-commerce as well. It's seen accelerated growth momentum in Q2, and in fact, GMV growth, consolidated GMV growth is expected to be close to 30s compared to mid-20s in the last few quarters. So a lot of positive indicators at least coming in across some of these segments on the kind of growth momentum that they're seeing this past quarter at least. So we'll keep an eye on some of those. There we have it, counting down to opening bell. Keep an eye on some of those counters affected, of course, by the rising metal prices. Hindustan Zinc will be in focus. We'll continue to keep an eye on financials and, of course, a whole host of pockets which will be affected by festive momentum. Nifty's just flat on opening right now. Let's pull up some of the gainers and losers for you, see where the action is this morning. Banks steady this morning, up about 0.5% on the Nifty Bank as we've hit opening trade. Apollo Hospitals looking good, and we've seen some amount of traction in hospital stocks. Keep an eye on those, given that the government has revised package rates for procedures under CGHS, and I'll talk more about that later. Financials clearly looking good. Tech Mahindra, Tata Motors on the gainers list this morning. Let's pull up some of the other trending stocks. Let's also look at what's on the downside as well, what's keeping the pressure on the index. IndusInd Bank, one of the anomalies there from the banking space. Otherwise, you've got Grasim, Power Grid, Nestle, and Tata Steel, some of the names on the downside this morning. Shail, what are you tracking on opening?
Abha, it's a muted start, but banks all the way, led by HDFC Bank and ICICI today. HDFC Bank is contributing 15 points to Nifty's total of 15-point gain, and that's because Bernstein has come out with a report putting in a target of 1150 from 971 today. And apart from that, you have hospitals, as you mentioned. Fortis, Max Health, Apollo are top three gainers in the F&O space. It's looking good.
All right, let's talk more about the news in the hospital space. The 25% hike could mean about a 2.5% revenue lift and 10% impact on EBITDA growth. So hospitals with high exposure to government schemes, they were likely to benefit. We're already seeing the result coming in on some of those hospital stocks, as well as keep an eye on Yatharth, Narayana Health. Some of these will also see an impact on revenue. Avinash, want to get your perspective on some of the hospital stocks as well?
No, I think this is definitely a positive move, and I think, as you mentioned, larger players like Apollo, Fortis, Narayana Healthcare, even the smaller ones like Yatharth Hospital, which is based in North India. I think all
Yeah.
these hospital stocks would be in limelight today. I think overall, this is an interesting space because the government's focus on healthcare is also increasing, and most importantly, specialty hospitals are going to gain further traction because for them the specialty business is going to deliver a better margin picture. So I think investors should look at this as a very long-term portfolio kind of choice. Any dip in the market, or if the market is flattish today, considering the large IPOs which are expected in the coming week, I think would be a good opportunity to accumulate these companies because quarter two is also going to be a much stronger quarter as compared to the first quarter. So I think definitely we are structurally positive on the hospital stocks.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on those hospital stocks this morning. But talking about IPOs, I do want to talk through all the action expected this week. A lot of companies gearing up to mobilize a whopping 33,000 crores through public issues. The lineup begins with WeWork India opening its 3,000 crore issue from October 3rd to 7th. Then comes the big one, Tata Capital, eyeing 15,511 crores between 6th to 8th. And close behind, LG Electronics is set to raise 11,607 crores. Then we have Anantam Highways, Canara Robeco, Rubicon Research. They'll all collectively add nearly 3,000 crores to total mobilization, and we'll of course be bringing you all the latest across these major issues this week. Avinash, are you also of the opinion that markets may see a lot of action move to some of these primary issues and take away from the secondary markets, or are you also looking at these as some attractive opportunities?
No, I think clearly, I think the primary market paper supply has been very huge, and that is probably going to put some pressure on the secondary market. Typically, what we see is investors sell in the secondary market and apply in the primary market. I think LG should be a very interesting bet, although the fact is that it's a complete OFS offer. But I think if you look at the fundamentals of the company, it's a debt-free business, a very strong brand franchise in the consumer durable space. So I think, probably this could be a very good long-term bet. As far as Tata Capital is also concerned, listing gains may not happen, but I think typically if one looks at the longer term picture, Tata Capital also provides a good value for opportunity for long-term investors. And I think investors should look at these kind of IPOs, from a slightly long-term perspective. I think listing gains may not happen, but at least from a long-term perspective, good value can be made.
All right. Come back and talk about a little bit more on those housing stocks, but I want to go across to Shell for a moment just to see what else is standing out in the broader markets. Shell, what are some of the other buzzers you're noticing on your screen?
Abha, I think a lot of action is on the metal space. Look at manganese ore. It's now at a fresh intraday high, 400 for you. There is Hindustan Copper 1.7% higher. As Avinash had mentioned, Hindustan Zinc doing pretty well. You have a strong move coming into Vedanta, 471.65. And of course, no stopping Shriram Finance. Remember, last week there was this news of a major buyout happening by a Japanese global financial giant, MUFG, into Shriram Finance. So that's doing pretty well. Overall, the market is in reasonably good shape. 1,402 shares in the green, 900 in the red. And of course, you have the financial services index, the IT index, PSU banks doing well, mid caps in top 4. Profit booking on the side of auto and pharma. Auto is expected. We had a very sharp run up in late September. That's getting transported into profit booking. So this is how it is at the moment, Abha.
All right. Aviation also in focus this morning. Indian Airlines to add more than 1,700 flights to meet the festive rush. Let's go across to Karishma for more on this. The DGCA recently announced that it's going to be keeping a rigorous oversight of air ticket prices as well and monitoring capacity. Karishma, take us through what the announcement is and what you've picked up, how it's likely to impact what we see in terms of flights this season.
Abha, very good morning to you. Announcement by Ministry of Civil Aviation, DGCA, comes in the backdrop of usually it's procedural that during festive season we see a shot in demand and higher airfares, and that is because of the fact that a lot of people want to get back to their homes for the weekend, for the Diwali season and of course for the wedding season. Now, while let's put into the obvious fact that prices cannot be regulated by DGCA, they of course can push the airlines to ramp up their capacities and come up with additional flights in order to settle down the impact of airfares. However, there could be certain key routes like that of Bombay Delhi, say Bombay Hyderabad, Delhi Hyderabad, or Bombay Bangalore, the most tier one cities, especially where a lot of young people are working for their jobs. Those routes could still see an impact with higher airfares. While demand with the regional connectivity, especially by Indigo, which is going to deploy close to about say 750 additional flights, could actually stabilize the prices.
All right, thanks for that, Karishma. That's the news on the aviation front. Keep an eye on some of those counters, but also on your flights as you book to go home this Diwali. I want to get back to some of the other stocks in news. Shobha, Avinash, I want to get your view on that because sales numbers look phenomenal for the counter. Shobha Developers sales area up 50%, sales value up 61%, and in the first half itself up 30%.
Very solid, Abha. I think in terms of pre-sales, in terms of the overall outlook for the real estate market, I think typically real estate takes off in the second half of every financial year. We should be seeing good amount of festive sales even in the third quarter. And I think, Sobha operates in the corporates market, specifically Bangalore. They have now diversified to other states, but I think clearly Bangalore appears to be a promising market for them. I would not be surprised that compared to last year, this year would be a much better year in terms of both income as well as profitability. So I think hopefully if we get the stock at a lower level, I think it could be a good opportunity to accumulate. But definitely, I think we are structurally positive here.
Okay. What's your view on some of the FMCG names, Avinash? Because, in terms of the update coming in from Marico, consolidated revenue growth is touching the 30s, even though they're still seeing some incremental pressure on gross margins, which they expect to ease off in the second half. If this is an indication, perhaps, of what we may see overall in the sector, what's your view on some of this outlook coming in?
No, I think my guess is, Marico has given a very positive outlook, but across the FMCG value chain, I think you're going to see a better volume number in the third quarter. The GST cuts are going to be fully reflective in the third quarter. And I think once volume growth picks up to 7-8%, that is definitely going to be a trigger point which the markets are going to watch. So I think, players like Lever, Dabur, Marico, Godrej Consumer, these could be interesting bets, but I think the markets would obviously look at what kind of commentary comes the quarter two numbers. I think volume growth of 7-8% is definitely a very big positive indicator that the industry will now be looking at stronger growth going forward.
All right, we also have a query coming in this morning. Satyam Chauhan from Pune has said that after the revamp of CGHS, where should I invest apart from hospitals? Will diagnostic sector also benefit from this move? Avinash, you want to answer that or take that question for Satyam?
I think, from a longer term perspective, my sense is that, autos and auto components, I think this is one sector which has underperformed for the last 3 to 4 years. You're going to see a big bounce back in demand. Already we have seen record numbers in the month of September for, companies like M&M, Maruti, or for that reason, Hyundai. I would say that, these are the very good bets if one takes a longer term view. But yes, the auto component companies like Uno Minda or maybe a Sundaram Fastener or typically even a Jamna Auto, all these which are catering to the domestic players are definitely going to get a significant positive rub up. So I think auto component looks interesting if the investor has a time frame of 12 to 15 months.
All right, thanks for that, Avinash. Let's also pull up Nykaa or FSN e-commerce because again, on the Q2 update, the growth momentum that they've highlighted, I think the stock is moving up this morning. Shell, also want to come to you in terms of some of the other movers you're spotting, but Nykaa at least is looking pretty strong today.
Absolutely, Abha, and it's the entire consumer space and the consumer financing space that's doing pretty well. Look at how Bajaj Finance is moving. Look at how changes are happening in mid-cap, companies in the NBFC space. CGCL, to point out, a very strong move there because the festival season is an on-way, and you will see a lot of financing deals coming your way. So 1,007 for Bajaj Finance on the screen. Poonawalla Finance, fresh record high of 548. A strong move coming into CGCL, which was earlier Capri Global. So these are the companies that are doing pretty well at 927. And one very, very quick view on the new highs that have come into the market at this point of time. You have Fortis from the hospital space, Muthoot Finance from the gold space, Indian Bank from the banking space, AB Capital and L&T Finance. Abha.
All right, Shail, Avinash, thanks so much for joining us this morning and taking us through the Monday morning trends as well as outlook. Lots coming up this week as well. 33,000 crore rupees being raised by 6 main board IPOs. Keep an eye on that. TCS will be kicking off earnings season as always on October 9th. That's the big one that we'll be tracking there. US FOMC meet minutes will be released on October 8th, and the much awaited Navi Mumbai airport will be inaugurated on October 8th. Also, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will be visiting India on October 8th and 9th. So, event-heavy week, and we'll of course be top of all of that for you. Thanks so much for watching. Do stay tuned. We'll continue to track the market closing action for you as well at 3 o'clock. That's all from me for now.